I'm here at the Future Food Tech Summit in San Francisco, and I'm joined by Dr. Jasmin Hume at Shiru, a startup using AI to aid in ingredient discovery.
Shiru has created a really novel way to discover the most functional proteins from nature for applications in flavor and texture, as well as bioactivity for food and now cosmetics. We're applying new tools that frankly are not the most common tools from a food industry standpoint, like large databases of proteomic information, biotechnology, AI machine learning. They're becoming more familiar, but what we aim to do is make it really plug and play for companies to be able to say, like, you don't need to hire a team of molecular biologists, you need to know what your ingredient needs to do, let us solve the rest for you. So Shiru has built the most extensive library of natural proteins coming from plants, algal sources, microbes that exists. It's about 33 million sequences. So we leverage that as well as certain bioinformatics and machine learning capabilities to effectively cluster that data based on the protein's functional properties.
So a food company could say, I don't know, I need a natural emulsifier that's stable at a low pH, or I'm looking for a plant protein that might mimic casein, and you can potentially identify solutions?
Those are great examples, yeah. Certainly. What it really comes down to is kind of for us translating what job is the protein doing in the context of a food product, for example. So if that's emulsifying or if that is enhancing sweetness, we're able to then translate that into prompts for our search algorithms, and then we return proteins that actually are predicted to function in those applications very well. Shiru also goes to the next step, and we can produce those proteins and provide samples to our partners.
So you're not designing new proteins, you're screening proteins already found in nature, but maybe they haven't been used in food ingredients before, or at least for that purpose?
Yeah, certainly. So if you think about it, today we get 90% of our calories from about 12 crops. Each plant expresses about 40,000 different proteins uniquely. So the search space for what can be a healthy, functional ingredient is so much larger than what we're currently leveraging. And we believe that to solve the most important challenges in nutrition with clean label natural solutions, we need new approaches. So this is kind of the foundation for which we've come at this solution, and ProteinDiscovery.ai is basically a demo of how we do that.
So let's say I find a fantastically functional protein through your platform or a few candidates. Can your platform provide any insight into whether you can then efficiently produce this protein, at scale by fermentation, for example?
Yes, absolutely. So we have kind of two main capabilities. One is around identifying proteins that have important functions. The other one is our tools related to how manufacturable is that protein. And so those are really prediction methods for understanding a protein's solubility, which is kind of a core important capability to be able to have it be manufactured. As well as for fermentation, really can it be expressed in a microbial host? Because not all proteins like to be expressed by microbes, especially if those proteins are ones that are, for example, from plants, right? So the farther the original organism is from the host, it can be really challenging to do that. So we've developed algorithms that can effectively predict, yes, this protein has a high likelihood of being expressed, or maybe move on to the next one.
So how does it typically work? So you work with a company, uses the platform, maybe they identify 2 or 3 candidates, so you can initially actually supply them that protein and they can go away and test it?
We can, yeah. I would say that no engagement is exactly the same. Everything is very tailored to what the customer needs right now. So there are companies that we work with that have the ability to produce proteins on their own through fermentation, and in that case it can be as straightforward as really just an engagement to provide sequence information that then they can take and they can run with. And then in other cases, oftentimes when we're working with food companies, they don't have the ability to, do all of the biological manipulation to produce proteins, or even to translate that biomass into an actual ingredient. And so in that case, we do have the ability to kind of develop it into what folks kind of consider more of a usable ingredient, which is basically a pure protein in powder form at the end of the day.
So you've just announced a partnership with Green Lab, which has developed kind of, I guess, molecular farming technology to express certain proteins in corn. How does that partnership work and fit into your business model?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about the opportunity to produce these proteins in microbes. So certainly that's one path that we can produce ingredients. It's not the only one. And so we are partnered now with Green Lab, who has an amazing expression system to be able to make proteins in the kernels of corn. And so our job at Shiru, we can discover functional proteins, and we want to create the best and most efficient paths to market, whether that be through precision fermentation in microbial hosts, and now we have access to expressing those proteins in actual crops, which is another really, really scalable way to bring them to market.
Can you share any updates on projects that you're working on or partners you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So Shiru is a B2B company, so we are not currently developing products that you would find, on the supermarket shelves, but rather pursuing partnerships with large ingredients companies, ones that could actually manufacture the ingredients that we discover, as well as CPG companies, both in the food space and personal care space. So at this point, we have a number of established contracted partners that those relationships are either for technology licensing, and in some cases, they're actually like early supply agreements for ingredients that we're already producing.
So aside from your B2B model, you've also used your technology, originally to develop some things in-house. Can you speak a little to what's going on there?
Yes, absolutely. So early in our history, a couple of years ago, we discovered a protein that is really amazing at basically encapsulating liquid oil. And so we've been kind of heads down developing that product, developing the applications as well as the customer base for that product. And I'm really excited that in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be going into our first commercial manufacturing production for that ingredient. So there will be some updates on our website, et cetera, but we'll be in a position with, actual purchase agreements, customers, and being able to address new customer inquiries as well.
And you also have been looking at methylcellulose replacement.
Yeah. So that was one thing that we did very early in Shiru's history. We have a solution that works really, really well. Basically, it's a binding agent. So it's a protein that when you heat it, it gels and binds other ingredients in a formulation together. That is produced through precision fermentation, and so we are pursuing a licensing agreement on that ingredient.
Okay.